Oh, yes, everybody. This is the Seahawks Uncovered podcast. I am FLEXMatt. He is Brandon Adam. And tonight we go over our Thursday night showdown between division rivals, the Seattle Seahawks, our team, our guys against the 49ers. We don't like those guys, but it is a triple header here tonight on the Undroppables Podcast Network. Follow them at the Undroppables and follow us at the Flex Network One. Brandon, Adam, I'm going to hit our intro here. Brandon, yuck it is for us right now. How are you doing, brother? And are we, I've gotten a lot of messages. It's just like, are you guys weeping? Are you wallowing in sorrow? Just a little bit. I am wallowing in a little bit of sorrow. I was super hyped starting the season 3-0, 2 straight losses. Now we go against our division foes, a team that, yes, came off of a loss last week, but the 49ers look good. They've always looked good, or at least in the Christian McCaffrey era. Even without him, they look good. Brandon, how are you doing tonight?
It's I wish we didn't get trapped in the trap game. That was such a trap game after the big juice game after Detroit. But that front, you just got to hand it to the Giants front. They just simply disrupted our line to the point where we didn't even run the ball because the game script was so out of hand with what they were doing that Grubb. This is the first time I felt Grubb kind of panicked with his play calling instead of sticking with his bread and butter with Ken. He should have been leaning into Ken a little bit early in the game, and I think that's I think he talked about that in the presser today, actually. So I think
what do you think it was? You think
that
they had a game? You think they had a game plan where what they thought that they could exploit, and then all of a sudden the game's a little out of hand, and you haven't gave the ball to your premier running back a little over. It's like you would think as professionals that there would be a point in time where somebody said, "Hey, Kenneth Walker hasn't really touched the ball very much." What do you think it was? Do you think that they just maybe got out coached, maybe, or do you think we had a game plan?
No, so there's a stat going around that it's much like, remember?
Oh no, was it contagious?
The stat is that teams that play the Lions the next week are 0-3 in matchups after those games. So teams are battered and beaten up with the Detroit games because those are physical, exhausting, mentally exhausting games. I think it just has a little bit of a hangover with those things. And we got a young team, and we got a young coaching staff. And so I think a little bit. I think they kind of got caught with the game script and how it got a little weird. And they kind of just, I don't know if they're trying to, work Ken in because of the oblique issue. I don't know if they feel totally comfortable leaning heavily on him yet. I mean, even when he played against the Lions, when he crushed it, he only had 12 attempts. So, he was just taking him to the house every time he was doing it. So he hit 3 bit banger runs that were for touchdowns that kind of kept that game script shooting out with the Detroit. So it just kind of one of those things, man. I just really feel like we got caught. And I think that it's a good reset because maybe they were kind of looking past a little bit and kind of looking towards this week. And maybe they kind of did that, and that young team kind of got caught.
And you notice, everybody who's out there tuning in, it's been a little bit now, 5 minutes, so we haven't talked about the penalty that was not called on the block kick, which clearly was shown after the fact. in my personal opinion, if you're a ref, you just throw the flag when you see a football guy leaping over the line, whatever. Like you just make a call. Like where else would that play be coming if it wasn't a potential flag at this point? But hey, man,
Correct.
the referees get shocked sometimes. They miss clear ones. That's 2 in a row, I guess. DK got tackled in the end zone essentially, and so hey, whatever. Chalk it up to inexperience, like you mentioned, not feeding the ball to our premier running back. Maybe we thought we could exploit them in the pass game and just couldn't get the juice on the offensive line going on. And then
if you look though, they went after the matchup we talked about. It was DK and Banks, and they went after it, and unfortunately, DK kind of got outplayed a little bit. I think he gets
straight
a little
fumble. They literally
second
costing us the game.
Yep.
I mean, what do you think? And you know what? This is something different on our local radio. They actually like it, not like it that he fumbled, but the fact that DK is not being a little whiny baby about it. Like you would see him a couple years ago, kind of doing that, being that way on the sidelines, and now you just see it's business as usual.
He's
which
matured a little.
Yeah, maturity comes across. I think Jackson is very mature.
The dude's a stud. Did you see that play where he baited the freaking 2 DB? He baited 2 DBs to run with him for like 20 yards to allow Geno to get an easy rushing first down, which was the coolest thing I've ever seen. I was like, that is high IQ right there. Like this
is exactly. So let's set this up real quick. So the Seattle Seahawks need to get a field goal to tie the game at the end of regulation and go into overtime. And Geno breaks off like a 35-yard rush, and it was wide. It was wide open for him. Well, what was happening was the safety and the slot corner, whoever was doubling him, JSN took him all the way down the field. And he did it because he started to look back and he started to fake like the ball was coming at him, and he was tracking it. If you didn't know the ball was not being thrown right there, and you were watching JSN as a defender of somebody in the stands, and you just didn't know, like you might think that ball's on its way over there. And this is like elite tier level coaching stuff, and like elite tier level stuff. Because last year, DK, if you remember, he did the same thing. DK Metcalf did in the end zone as well, and may have secured some stuff. So these guys, I mean, the wide receiver room is very, very tough to be matched. I mean, you have Chase and T. Higgins, stuff like that, but DK, Tyler, a veteran of the game, a veteran of route running, like a savant. And JSN, not to mention AJ Barner. I mentioned he's getting there for us.
You mentioned him, and he's getting run right now. He's an explosive guy. He knows how to be sneaky with kind of faking his blocks and getting out into space. And he's a smart guy. You could tell.
Per PFF, he's the 13th ranked tight end in the league. Per PFF. I mean, I don't know. I don't make it myself. I don't build it.
That's wild.
But I would agree with it whenever it's on my side. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But,
right.
But heading into our Thursday night showdown, we do have some successes to talk about. One is, I think we know what our team is and should be. I think that last game is Ryan Grubb trying to figure some things out on offense, where they can be successful, maybe where they can try to exploit some things with Geno. I just think in the end, it ended up being a situation where our line couldn't hold up, give them enough time. And maybe, again, we lost sight of it. It happens to young, early, coaches in the NFL, where all of a sudden some games get a little bit out of hand or a little bit away from them. So that's a positive, is that we know we can kind of take from that and move on.
Sure.
The coaching staff has talked about it all week. They're not shy about it. mentioning that we need to do well. But another positive is that our guys that were hurt, that were coming back just in their first game last week, we are getting them back again in line. Like Leonard Williams is going to be back again. And hopefully playing a lot better. I mean, you can't expect much in their first game back. He was not a factor last week. For the money we pay that guy, he needs to be a factor for us. He wasn't there last week. What do you got to say about that heading into Thursday night?
Yeah, we need him back. But the biggest thing, honestly, for news for our D line is Nwosu is on IR now.
Again,
he just got put back onto IR. He had something with his thigh, they called it, but he's back on IR, so he's going to be gone a minimum of another 4 weeks. So I think this guy, unfortunately, at USC, he was the same way, had some injury stuff back then too. So I don't know. I'm kind of worried about him, but maybe we get him for the late push for the playoffs. But as of right now, I don't expect to see him until past into November.
Yeah, the one to watch is Reek Wolin ended up leaving the game. Same thing with Julian Love. It looks like, as far as their injuries, it looks like they are leg injuries, thigh injuries. But they, Boye Mafe's trying to play. I mean, the problem is we had 11 games or 3 games in 11 days. I mean, geez, if we weren't beat up a little bit, it's just getting pretty tough. But like I said, we're getting our guy, Leonard Williams, back for another game heading into Thursday night. But let's talk about this, Brandon. It doesn't look on the outside like we really have, people are not going to bet on us to win this game. Do you think that there's a way we can actually win this game? Because the Giants beat us last week.
No. We're going to win this game because of the loss last week. I think we are going to feed Ken Walker 25 carries this week, and he's going to end up getting 2 tutties and 150. That is what's going to happen this week. They are going to establish Ken Walker. Before we went on live, I was listening to Ryan Grubb's presser and how he talked about how very, very important it is that they get Ken going this week. That is their number one objective this week, is to give Ken as many touches as possible this week. Because when you do that, we will control the game, right? We're going to control that game. We're going to control the play action game, and we're going to be able to get DK on those, on the double moves to the post. We're going to end up getting a lot of deep shots for DK if we get Ken Walker rolling. So I really do feel like Ryan Grubb he was very disappointed in himself. When at the end of the Giants game, he was like, I only gave Ken 9 touches. That's it. Like that was the week for him. That's just crazy. Or I'm sorry, 5 touches, not 9, 5 touches.
Well,
that's all he got was
5 rushes.
5 rushes.
He had
5 rushes.
Could have been
that's not good enough.
7 receptions. So total in touches 12.
Yeah.
If I do
but
13.
Not enough. That's what, but we got to get rushes. We need 15 rushes minimum for Ken Walker for us to win consistently every week. We need that every single week. It should be mandatory for Ken Walker to get 15. And if we do that, I think we end up winning a lot of games, especially because we end up turning people over. We make plays, right? Our team makes plays on defense, and we end up making stops. So if we can control the game a little bit on offense and give our defense, our D line a little bit of time to rest so they can be a little bit more explosive in the fourth quarter and finishing out games and close games, I really feel like the run game is going to be the key to the Seattle season. Don't you? I feel like it has to be, right?
The writing's on the wall of how it is right now, because it's we're not going to. I mean, the first 3 games. Or at least, the predominance of Geno's rise this early in the season was, if our line did hold up, it was just a little longer. Geno was having to be great. I mean, Geno just happened to tap into the greatness that he has, but we cannot expect Geno Smith to be great forever or all time. I mean, there's no way. It's impossible.
He is a stud, dude. Like, he is doing stuff right now that he is really in shape. There's something going on that's different with him this year. Whatever he did,
it's got to be on the
whatever he did, dude. Whatever he did is that he is scooting right now, and he is moving. And I didn't see that from him ever before. And I just want to say that we got a guy. I mean, for God's sakes, I'm a big Caleb Williams fan, and Geno Smith has more rushing yards than Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams was the number one running quarterback coming out of high school. Like, that is crazy to me that Geno Smith has more rushing than Caleb Williams. It's unreal.
And look at this. Last week against the 49ers, Kyler Murray broke off 7 for 83 and a touch.
Yes.
And hey, if we can unlock that part to Geno's game, I mean, basically
a little bit, saying, not just a dash of it, just a dash, nothing crazy. I just love how he is sneaking them in at really good times. Like, he knows when they're in man coverage and everybody's turned around, he could just go. Like, he has it so dialed in this year with that, and that's what it's been impressive. But Kyler, did you see Kyler run that touchdown, dude? He got to the edge and he threw the deuces 40 yards out from the end zone because he knew he was going to house it. That's sick as hell, dude. That's just something that's
and when we talk about just a little dash of the run, it's like me, you know, I don't really like to pet like wet dogs. And so when I'm at a party or something, somebody's dog's there, it's like, I got to pet this dog, but it's clearly just came out of the rain. I'm from Seattle, and I don't want all that wet dog on me, but I got to pet it. You know what I mean? Just a dash. Just a dash. That's all I need to give me a little bit of that dog. But James Conner, 19 total carries, 86 yards. That's an average of 4.5. 4.5 is great. Hey, but those are tough yards. I mean, no touchdown given up there, but that's what you got to do. That's what you said. You got to wear them down, because let's talk about their linebackers in coverage. They're really not that good. Devondre Campbell in coverage, 3 for 30. The week prior, or not week prior, but actually it might have been the week prior, 3 for 53 against the Rams. Both games they lost, and tough interdivisional games they lost, Brandon. This is crazy. Charvarius Ward, 6 total targets, but 3 catches, 76 yards against the 49ers. Charvarius Ward again, 3 for 67. Again, so let's look at who he covers predominantly. If that's a tough name, okay.
Chardavius.
Charvarius. Is what
Charvarius. That's a
get
name.
the Char out of here.
Charizard. How about let's call him Charizard? Let's just call him Charizard.
This guy. We're not calling the guy. I mean, Charizard, the greatest Pokemon of all time, probably.
I don't know Pokemon. Is he? Is that guy? Is that true?
It's gotta be. You know what? You're almost out of here. We gotta throw you out of here. Like, you don't know.
I'm a little bit of a boomer with that.
Pokemon in the game. But anyway, right corner. It looks like on, let me see here. Sorry.
That's a Lockett.
So he is primarily right side wide receiver carry, but he does cover both. So Marvin Harrison had 1 for 22 on him, but Michael Wilson, like we had mentioned before,
Wilson's a beast.
Tyler Lockett's probably going to have, again, the best matchup of the week. He's been doing great. He's been coming on, but you could tell he's okay to let it happen. But last week, it was the tight end, man. Trey McBride finally had a good game. 6 receptions.
Barner, so your boy's going to score.
Yes, Barner.
I put that in a parlay right now.
Or JSN. I mean, because the way our scheme works is the tight end is not as involved, I don't believe, as Trey McBride would be in their offense. We have a much bigger spread, in my opinion, that Ryan Grubb runs in their offense, to where a lot of that middle work is being done by JSN and not the tight end. But I do believe that we're gonna have an opportunity to get Barner in the end zone. I definitely,
boy.
that's a tough bet to make,
There it is.
especially on a parlay, but I like it. I mean, again,
Plus 800. I am so putting that in, dude.
I like that. I kind of like that, don't you?
Yeah, I'm putting that in right now. Like, I'm playing it. Like, I really do like that. I actually do think the key here for us to win this game, it's really, speaking of tight ends, we really need to talk about George Kittle. George Kittle, he has rib issues. So I don't know, did he practice in full today? That's a big question. If George Kittle misses, I think Juwan Jennings is going to be the guy that's going to end up getting a ton of volume and end up being the wide receiver that people think is going that people don't understand, that's going to end up getting open most of the time versus our scheme. It's going to be Jennings. It won't be Ayuk.
Kittle puts in limited practice today, so he's probably going to go. Here's the other. You want to go to a crazy? You want to go to a crazy parlay, Brennan? Garendo and Barner to score a touchdown. That's how it. Because Garendo's been getting a lot of run last week. Jordan Mason did not look very great. Garendo was the come on fire starter for their team last week. Garendo and Barner for a touchdown parlay. That's got to be pretty crazy. What do you think about that?
The Garendo would be wild. I don't see why not, but I really do like the AJ Barner. I think that's because he's almost done it, man, already. Like he is flying in open spaces, man. Like nobody's covering him when he leaks out, and he can get loose, and he's athletic. So I actually I'm gonna play him just for us, for our pod. If it hits, whatever we get for that parlay, that's going towards Vegas. That we'll go to Vegas.
Yeah, that's a nice parlay, and you heard it here first. But how about the fact that Debo did not have a great game? It looks like we had a small breakout from Brandon Ayuk, which is likely what we had imagined that we would have seen from Ayuk, but he held out, didn't get a chance to come back until very early of the season. So he needed some time to get some run in. Brandon Ayuk did well. Debo coming off an injury though. What did you think? Did you get a chance much to watch the 49ers game? They were seeming to push the ball down the field.
A little bit. So I think Debo's still hurt. I think he's playing through some issues, just because the team is having a lot of issues with injuries right now. I think Debo's he's taking it for the team and playing a little wounded right now. You can see that he doesn't have the explosiveness. His forced tackle rate is career worst starting out this year. So I don't know if he's starting to hit the cliff and dropping off with that age, with the style of play he has. But I will say this: Debo is scary, and when he's healthy, he's a stud. But I just don't think he's right. Ayuk, I've been saying it. He was fat when he came in from not being at training camp. He needed 3 weeks to get into shape, and look what happened. Week 4, the guy is breaking out, and there you go. I think Ayuk is going right back to that. But I'm telling you, this week, it's going to be Juwan Jennings. Jennings is going to be the guy that we got to deal with and shut down, because he's going to have some good matchups.
Man, if we don't get Woolen back on the field, it's going to be tough. Trey Brown was cooked on Sunday, and it was on Sunday. Like you had mentioned, Juwan Jennings. I mean, profiles to be seeing a lot of Trey Brown. If that's the case, I'm not loving it. Again, our safety play needs to get a little bit better. For the last 2 weeks, we have really not played very well. Apparently, Fred Warner, Charvarius Ward, and also Jair Brown are limited. So limited means they'll probably play, but not play not at their tippy top shape. We have a chance as a Seahawks nation here to really put a stamp on the division, defeating the 49ers.
Say it again.
really, really, maybe decisively. Also, their kicker got blasted into next
Moody's hurt.
year. And so who knows in the pressure situations if they're going to be able to get a chance to even put it on us.
Dude, that is such a good call, man. That's a huge deal. Hey, that's a huge deal in this game. Like, seriously. Field goals with these two defenses, the team that's going to be able to punch consistently through we can get in 3 at least. That's a big deal in the rivalry games. And you know for a fact this is going to come down to the last 5 minutes. It's going to come down to the last 5 minutes and what happens in those moments for either unit's defensive backs if they don't have a broken coverage. I think somebody's going to end up having a broken coverage and going to have a big play, and that's going to end up finishing out the game. And hopefully it's us. I really want JSN to be matched. I want them to scheme up JSN running a route on linebackers. I really want, much like Amon-Ra, much like Rashee Rice, Juju Smith-Schuster, the way they used him last night, the very same way they can use Jackson the same way and trying and get him against some backers, and that is going to be a money matchup for us every single time.
Yeah, and then to kind of close out our podcast, again, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please follow us at the Flex Network 1. Also, follow the Undroppables at the Undroppables. We will be having Jax Falcone on the podcast next Tuesday, and that's going to be with our DFS Army podcast. So you can tune into that. That is going to be about dynasty trade values and also trade targets, which I got a bone to pick about trade values, Brandon. This year especially, it's got under my skin. And I want to talk to Jerks about it before I freak out about it, because I think we are just in a scope where everybody's fucking crazy, excuse my language, with some of the values on these guys. But the last thing I wanted to take a look at is kind of where some of Vegas is. Apparently, a lot of Vegas is on the under on DK Metcalf's yardage. His yardage prop, 63.5. It looks like the edge is under that.
I'm telling you, it's going to be Ken Walker, JSN.
And with a little bit of Tyler
maybe
Lockett.
With some Barner, and let's get the Barner in the end zone. I can't wait for that parlay to hit. I'm going to go crazy when that hits.
Yeah, I would love that. That would be great. But looks like everybody's on the over of Tyler Lockett, 45.5 receiving yards. That
makes
seems
sense.
like a smash. It looks like the over on JSN, which is at 47.5. Let me see if I can find. It looks like they're on the over of Charbonnet at 31.5 yards, which is interesting there. Looks like they're on the under on Deebo Samuel at 51.5 yards.
Makes sense.
And then under 68.5 rushing and receiving yards. And on the under 13.5 rush yards, which is a tough bet to take. You got some nut sacks if you're trying to take the under on Deebo's rush yards, because that's just a troubling thing here. Mo Maggot, what's going on, dog? Sorry, I might have missed these comments early. Don't love that New York loss. Yes, I know. Looked like a Pete Carroll loss. I'm with you 100%. Welcome back, by the way. I didn't see you last week. I don't know if I can expect the defense to fix the zone spacing by Thursday. McDonald just said that the players need to do better. I agree. I think they do need to do better, because on the last touchdown grab to Slayton, it was absolutely the safety's fault. Okay, there is already coverage on the other side. We had two safeties there. One completely went to the other side, leaving Trey Brown all alone in zone coverage. That was not a man scheme. I don't believe so. He just knew that he had to grab his guy if it was coming across his face, because he had safety help. And the other safety, which I think was Rayshon Jenkins, did not shadow cover. So I hear it 100%. of what it looks like and what it seems like. But the reality is a Mike McDonald-led defense requires you to play smart. What that means is you're going to get beat. Okay. If you're not understanding what's happening in front of you, the plays, that's broken coverage in their scheme, right? And that's pretty much every single one of the touchdowns that have been in the past game, at least over the last 2 games, have been broken coverages. I mean, the long one to Jamison Williams, but like it wasn't a busted coverage. It was a busted assignment. Not necessarily that he was just completely lost out there. He just didn't know if he was supposed to give off a little bit or not. Either way, thank you for tuning in, everybody. That was a quick hitter for our Thursday night Showdown pod. Then we will get a break finally, not just us, but the whole Seattle Seahawks team, as we get a little mini of a break before we get on to week 6. Brandon, what is your score prediction for our 49ers Thursday night Showdown?
21-17 Seattle.
Yeah, it's tough to imagine anything more than that. 20 points, that's what we got last week, right? So tough to imagine. 20, probably 24, 20. 24, 21, maybe.
24, 20. I think 24 is better. I think you're right. 24 is probably better.
I think we can score on them. I don't think they're the defense that they have.
I 100% know we can score on these guys. I know we're. I think this could possibly. Vegas is saying people are betting the under. That's what you said earlier. Is that what you said?
On some of the yardage props.
On the overall points, are people leaning under on it?
Clicked off of that. I can try to find it while you can.
Anyways, I think this has a really good chance to go the opposite way. I really do. I think both of our defenses can give up some yards and big plays.
They're on the under. They are on the under at 48.5 yards.
Perfect. I'm going to go over. I think
48.5. That's 24 each. So.
Yep. I think we could go over very easily, to be honest.
And then the spread is Seahawks plus 3.5 minus 110. So I don't know. It's close. It's a tough bet game, right, Brandon? Like this is and we experience Mason better get contained. I don't know if you've been here the whole
contain Ken
podcast.
Walker. They better contain Ken Walker. That's what they got to deal with. That we'll get Mason. But I really do feel like this whole game is going to be around Ken Walker. It's got to be.
Yeah. And then, okay, so like I said, 24, 21, under on 48.5 points. It's not a very good game to bet. I really wouldn't bet much, but if Tariq Woolen's not out there, Brandon, it's going to be a little tough. But that's what we got to do. That's the type of team we are. Even if the Seahawks get some L's, which they have happened, the coaching staff it's not Pete Carroll. We're not out there saying, hey, everything's fine. We just got to get better. Like, no, we have to play better. Simple as that. There is checks and balances finally in our team, and I believe that we are going to get better. And Agreed. It starts this week, Brandon, with a prime time game. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.